It's Jodi Day.
What time is it?
It's Jodi time.
It's Jodi time. It's
We gotta
Jodi
get that
time.
together. Get that together one of these days. You know what,
Yeah.
Farrell? I don't care what you think, Farrell.
You
It's
already had a
yes,
follow-up?
and of course. Yeah, because did you like and subscribe?
Oh.
Did you like and subscribe? Hey, everybody. Wait, who's
Hello.
muted?
I'm
Am I
not
muted?
muted.
You maybe turn your volume up. I don't know. I hear everything.
I
But
can
hey,
hear you. I can hear you.
there we go.
And if people don't hear, I'm as proficient in sign language as the person who did the Nelson Mandela eulogy.
Yes.
Have you seen that one? Yeah.
Oh,
The sign language interpreter on Nelson Mandela's funeral. Have you seen
no.
that one?
No.
Oh,
I've seen the sign language interpreter that like faked it. Like she put
yeah,
on a resume, like I'm proficient, and then had no
yeah,
clue what she was. She
mm,
knew like a little bit. Like she
yeah,
probably grew up with somebody and used it a little
mm,
bit. But
yeah. But
yeah, I've
at the
seen that one.
The Nelson Mandela funeral, the eulogy, and everybody went up to speak and everything, and he just stood there when. Complete garbage.
Was that the first or the second funeral? That's what we want to know.
That depends if you believe in the Mandela effect.
Okay. Welcome everybody. Welcome. It is Jodi Day. It is. How much time do we have? So we're back on day 29 still. We have. Oh, we're not going to get through this. So for those of you who are new, at Tuesday or on Tuesday and Saturday at noon Eastern, 6 p.m. Swedish time, Nick and I jointly stream the Jodi Arias-Trial. We are on day 29. Jodi herself is still on the stand, and we are dual streaming. So there's a link to each other's respective channels pinned at the top of each other's respective chats. And you can go over and give me all the likes and the super chats and the membership gifts and all that stuff, so I can win a clean sweep for once, maybe for once. That would be nice. For once.
People, show me love. Show me love. Give me the thumbs up. Give me the super chats. Give me the memberships. You know I deserve it.
Yeah, she's still on the stand. Yes, she is still on the stand. So we just finished up jury questions last week, and now her attorney.
Am I not on Rumble? No.
Oh shoot! Did I not add your Rumble? I'm sorry. Oh no, I can't. I can't add you on Rumble. You got to do that.
You can't. No, I have to do that. Hold on
By the way,
while
I'm also back to streaming on Facebook, and I am streaming now on Twitch. So you guys can go check me out over there. If one of my mods could put my link tree in, if you guys want to check that out, just because it's good to diversify, get new eyes on this case, and all of the stuff that I do. So while Nick gets his, I officially hate Jodi. I know he's so infuriating. 34 watching and only 13 likes. Come on, people! I put a poll up and everything. Now we got 24 likes. What about Nick? Nick has 29 likes. Gotta refresh. Ghosterly. Totally Pip is here. See, we chit chat for a bit. We let everybody get in and get caught up. Never seen the dual stream on Rumble. Yeah, you normally don't stream to Rumble for this. Do you post it after the fact? Or?
I post most of it after the fact, I think. But hold on while I.
And if you are on X or if you are on Facebook and you comment, or if you're on Twitch and you comment, we should be able to see it and pull it up. So that is good. Now it's echoing.
What? I don't hear an echo.
I don't hear an echo. We're not muted. You don't have my link tree. I thought it was in the Discord in the mod channel, but maybe that's something that Jung neglected to do.
Okay, let's see here. Where's my Rumble? Oh, I have to add new destination. Custom. Oh, hold on.
Hey, welcome, Jung. We need the link for my link tree. I know you have it, and I was asking someone to post it. Yes, I can see you. Welcome. Welcome, Facebooker. It's been a while. It's been since May that I've had Facebook chatters in here. But I'm happy to be back on Facebook again.
Okay, I added the Rumbles. Let's see if it is up and running.
I see it on I see it on our StreamYard.
Yeah, but it's not live.
It will. There's a bit of a lag. I've did this before. When I was doing the test stream of the Zachariah Anderson docuseries or whatever, I started it on YouTube as a private stream, and then they yeeted me, and that was my test. But then I wanted to see if I could get it up on Rumble, and it was like a 5-minute, 2-minute or something. It was a bit of a delay, and then eventually
I am live on Rumble. I am live on Rumble. Yeah.
It just takes a second to get up to speed. Sean is ineligible for any prizes. What is Sean doing in the chat now? Is pissing off Jung. Well, you can't piss off Jung. Then
there was a lot of tech. I put the link via
the Rumble link. It went out as me, you, me on Facebook, and me on Twitch. So
yay! Yes, I know, Ghostery. You say that every time. I'll just copy the link and I will. What's that up there? You have some. Oh, you have a Facebook thumbs up.
I got a Facebook thumbs up. Yeah.
Yeah.
People are liking it. You know, it doesn't matter, Sean, because you're not getting any apparently. So we're good. What's a Facebook? All right. So here is our beautiful, wonderful Jodi. It is 34 degrees out here. The treehouse is like barely 60. And I'm hoping Jodi can keep me warm for the next hour.
Yeah.
I have the volume all the way up. If it's too loud, I'm going to turn it down a touch. Subtitles are going. And we're at 1.25 like we always do because Jodi likes nothing else but a speed run. So
honored to some degree, right?
I'm find sometime in.
She's interested in that one.
Sorry.
Was he a person that you were at least beginning to explore an interest in?
Yes, somewhat.
And at that point in time, Mr. Dixon, we've heard about, was only a friend and not a romantic interest because he was not a member of your church. Is that correct?
I can't say that my interest in him was not romantic, but it was something that I would not pursue because he was not a member of the church. So I kind of put a stop loss on any feelings that may have developed had we gone that route, but we never did.
Okay. And Mr. Burns was another individual, Ryan Burns, that you were interested in at this point in time as well. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Okay. But I want to be clear as well.
What they're talking about is all of the other guys that she was courting at the time. And then they just finished talking about the fact that she unallied Travis and then went over and did some heavy petting with another gentleman, like immediately thereafter.
Yeah, we are talking about hours later. She barely got cleaned up before she... Yeah.
She was throwing her bloody clothes out the car window as she was driving over to Ryan's house.
Well, technically, she was single.
She was. Yep, she was single. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And all of her exes are still alive, folks. So you never know.
Almost all.
Almost all. All of her other exes are still alive. Dude went and joined a church. What an idiot. I know Salvador's already signing up. So when he finally meets Jodi in person, he can be like, hey, I'm a member.
We weren't. You hadn't even met Mr. Carroll in person, correct?
That's correct. We just emailed a few times.
And apart from meeting Mr. Burns at a business meeting in Oklahoma City, you had not met him in person again since that initial meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct. A meeting I didn't even remember, actually.
So at that point in time, really, this spring of 2008, based on what you told us, would it be correct to assume you wouldn't have identified yourself as having a boyfriend at that period of time.
That's correct.
In that regard, in this period of time, what was Mr. Alexander to you?
He was my ex-boyfriend. He was kind of like a best friend in a way because we were still very close. The best way to put it is that it was complicated, but we were not in a committed relationship.
Had any of these, well, you were still having sexual interaction with him, at least over the phone, as we heard in May of 2008. That's accurate, right?
Yes, that's accurate.
You also talked about being sexually monogamous.
Most likely.
With,
well, he's going straight into
one
it.
person if you were dating them or they were your boyfriend.
Does monogamous mean only one hole, though? That's what I want to know for Jodi.
Correct?
Did you ask if I talked about that?
No, well, you mentioned that before in your
Yes.
testimony,
Hey, Peter.
that you were sexually monogamous in the context of
Peter, you're a new member. Check out my membership tab. It takes you to a Discord link where I have all of my member content. So check it out. And if any of you are new members as well, make sure you go there and check it out. Tell Jung when you get in there what your YouTube name is. So if Peter A is not your Discord name, we need to know just so we can keep track of it. But thank you and welcome.
a relationship.
That's
Yes,
a new
I
member
am.
for me now.
And a relationship is the only context actually that you've engaged in sexual activities. Is that correct?
In a relationship?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, Yamaha, we finished this
Had
up
things
last week.
progressed with Mr. Carroll, Mr. Burns,
There might be more.
or
later
anyone
on.
else,
Yeah.
would that have meant the end of the sexual interaction with Mr. Alexander?
It would have, he would have been cut off. I think you had mentioned an all access pass that would have transferred to somebody else, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Come back then.
To your knowledge, did Travis know that?
He knew that I was loyal and he knew that,
Did he know it? Yes or no?
That's
To
what
your
Jodi
knowledge, did
said.
Travis know that you were loyal?
yes.
And I'm sorry,
I said yes, I'm sorry.
talking about the trip that you began on June 2nd, was Travis aware of your plans to go to Utah?
Yes.
And based on your belief, do you believe he might have sensed that you were going there for exploring another potential boyfriend?
That's speculation.
That doesn't
That's
even make
her belief,
sense.
Judge.
I don't even know what he's asking.
Yes, because he teases me about it on the tape. When-
She was asking whether or not, it's a yes or no question, whether or not he says it.
Why did you sense that he had this suspicion?
When I mentioned I was going to Utah, he kind of was asking, well, why are you going to Utah? And I told him to see friends.
Wait, why? Effect on the
He was
listener.
inquisitive about the purposes of your trip. Would that be accurate to say?
He was inquisitive, yes.
And based on the verbiage he used, you believe this, his inquisitive nature related to assuring that this trip didn't involve another guy.
I don't know about assuring, but it related to his desire to find out if that's what it was about.
Okay. You were also asked about as it relates to the trip, the gas cans. That's a few different questions about the gas can. But the one I want to focus in on, Jodi, is
This
the
is
question related
1.25.
to a response you made related to getting the gas cans from
This is
Daryl. You remember being
1.25.
asked about getting the gas cans from Daryl?
Yes,
Oh, the gas cans.
Was
Those
taking
damn
gas cans on a
cans.
trip
Sex and gas cans. That's all this guy wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, those are like the two main things that just completely destroy her case. So I get it, but
And your answer seemed to be, was something to the effect that that was common practice for you. Is that accurate?
Only after we moved to the desert and realized the extreme conditions of the desert in the summer. I didn't take them on all the trips, just within
me
desert
too.
areas. For example, if I was going to Portland, I wouldn't take gas cans.
That was earlier testimony, though.
Now, as it relates to this trip and kind of what was going on in the interaction you were having in this time period with Travis, you were questioned about the trip that Mr. Alexander was going to take to Cancun. Do you remember being asked about that?
Yes.
And you were also asked to some degree or earlier about this woman that you saw Travis making out with in, I don't use the word making out, for simplicity, in his home. Do you recall being asked about that?
Yes.
Okay. And over the course of your relationship, not perhaps when he was doing it, but did you know that Mr. Alexander was dating a girl whose name at the time was Lisa Andrews?
Not while he was dating her. I found out afterward.
But during the course, you found out afterwards, meaning, but still during the course of your relationship.
During the course of,
And I should be careful here. During the course, when I said relationship, I should have said friendship with Mr. Alexander.
yeah, whatever our relationship would be defined as. Yes, I found out during that time, I guess.
And when you found out, that didn't end, the sex didn't end. Is that accurate?
I think we did have sex because I found out 2 days before I pulled out of town. So I think we did sleep together again after that fight.
Okay. So in a few days,
There
you
was
pulled out of
no
town, meaning you
pulling
moved to
out
Wairika?
in there.
Yes, they did. Day 6, part 3, part 2?
Day 6, part 2.
Yeah, if you want to go check it out in our playlist. Day 6, part 2. Her ass was on blast. And if you are a member, you can join in the Discord and you can see all of Jodi Arias, as well as some cookies. Have some cookies while you're there.
Yes, a few days because it happened the same day that he choked me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And well, obviously, we know that it didn't stop because you had sexual relations with him on June 4th, or with Travis Alexander on June 4th as well, right?
Yes.
And you had, even after you had this knowledge about him dating Lisa Andrews, you also engaged in phone sex conversations with him, correct?
Yes.
Okay. While I'm on the topic of phone sex conversations, a question was posed to you about whether or not you had recorded other phone sex conversations with Mr. Alexander. Do you remember that? I think that happened yesterday.
Yes.
And you said that you had recorded those conversations, if I recall correctly. Is that right?
That's right.
Do you know what became of those?
After June 4th, I deleted them.
Oh, I wanted to hear them. Well, we heard the one.
And just so we're clear, was this on the same phone that the May 10th recording was found on, or
Hot
on a
dogs
different
and
phone?
train tunnels. Is that what we're talking about?
It was on the phone that was replaced by the phone that the May 10th recording was on that phone. I believed it was stolen a week later. So I got another replacement phone through the insurance that I had on the phone. And so the subsequent recordings were on that phone. And then after everything happened, I deleted it to, well, one, it's embarrassing as hell, but two, I didn't want that to be known about Travis either.
Okay. So we know about Lisa Andrews and the girl that was standing outside the window. You also, and without going into names, you also mentioned that Travis had an interest in having a threesome during your relationship. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that involved another woman, correct?
Yes.
Okay. At least it wasn't a devil's
And
threesome.
you told us that that was something that you were, I believe your words were, willing to go along with.
I'm not sure if it had gone up to the moment, if I would have gone along with it or not, but I entertained the idea with him.
Okay. And on this phone call as well, before we talk about the phone call, you had told us that you knew about the trip to Cancun. I think it was, you said somewhere in the ballpark of a year before it was to take place. Is that correct?
Yes, it was announced right around the time that he and I broke up.
Was there any point in time when Mr. Alexander had asked you to accompany him to Cancun?
No, never.
And did the idea of going to Cancun with Mr. Alexander, was that something that did you ever ask him, I'd like to go to Cancun with you, or something to that effect?
No, I never asked him anything like that.
When
This
did
is
you
way-
know?
Did the jury ask about Cancun? No, they did, I guess, but
Yeah, I
not
think
really
they
in
did.
this way. I feel like this is outside the scope of the jury questions.
I would agree.
He's so slow asking questions. I'm putting it back to 1.5.
Yeah.
That Travis was dating or had an interest in Murray Hall?
It was sometime in late winter, early spring, 2008. It was sometime, somewhere in the first quarter of 2008, I would say, but it was before we went to convention. I remember that.
And you still
I know, right?
engaged in sexual behavior with Mr. Alexander even after that knowledge, correct?
Correct. Yes.
This is 1.5,
And
people. Think of how slow this would be.
Yeah.
at some point in time, well, you knew that his interest in her, was it your understanding that his interest in her was more than fleeting, shall we say?
At first, he didn't tell me a lot. He just showed me pictures of her. And then after that, I understood that he believed that he was receiving signs from God that she was to be his wife.
When he showed you pictures of her, was it with also the expression that he had a romantic interest in her?
Yes.
No, none yet.
Do you recall if that, do you recall when that happened?
When he showed me the pictures?
Yes.
Oh, it would have been in early 2008. I don't recall exactly the month even.
Okay.
That's right. Remember,
Why,
Crazy to
in your half of the
Cancun.
equation then, you know that
That's what we've
he's
learned
interested
from
in
this.
this other woman. Are you still interested in, are you still willing, I should say, to engage in sexual behavior with Mr. Alexander?
Well, I was conflicted. They weren't,
I was totally lost for a second. I thought he was talking about like right now as we sit in the courtroom. I'm like, he's dead, but okay.
dating like officially exclusively. They were not boyfriend, girlfriend. That was my understanding. They had gone on 2 dates or 3. So I didn't feel like I
She
was
didn't give him the letter jacket.
enabling him to cheat on her by any means. But at the same time, I also was conflicted with the idea that what we're doing is not helping either of us spiritually, especially if he thinks he just met his future wife. So I was conflicted.
The conflict that you
thinks
described
him-
that you were going through,
If she thinks
I know,
that's his future wife, that's intent.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, she was extremely. She's trying to say I wasn't jealous, while at the same time saying I was jealous.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, what have I missed? Not much. We're still talking about gas cans and smexy time. That's about it.
Yeah, that's the entirety of that. What's not shooty, stabby, stabby is gas cans and smexy talk.
Yep. So just more of the same, actually. And I think he's going outside the scope of the jury questions quite a bit, but he's getting into more of what he brought up in direct again. But it doesn't help, the direct examination didn't help her case. It did like the first half of it, and then the rest of it, and the cross, and the jury questions, and this redirect don't help. You should have stopped after the first day of her on the stand.
Yeah, and because all he did was giving cannon fodder for the prosecution.
Yeah.
Because oh my God, the cross-examination on the first day she still fought back. Second day of cross-examination, she started to stop smiling, and on the third day of cross-examination, she was defeated.
Yes.
Utterly defeated.
Yep. And it's always the smexy time that gets us into trouble, guys.
Yeah.
Be careful. Don't just stick it in random holes.
you can't read Travis's mind, but were you of the understanding that he was conflicted as well? Or was he simply just still interested in engaging in sex with you?
Conflicted about what?
Well, he has this girl, shows you a picture, says this is going to be my future wife. That's what you just described for us, right?
Yeah, not when he showed me the picture, but he did share that with me. Yes.
Okay. Yet he never stopped, based on what we heard in May 10 and through your testimony, he never, to your understanding, lost a desire to have sex with you. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
When you saw this picture of Marie Hall, and he says, this is going to be my future wife,
He might
Are
have
you jealous?
thought that
I
would
didn't feel jealous.
scare her off.
And he didn't say
But
this is
it
my
didn't.
future wife. He just said this is a girl he's interested in. But when he began to talk about her, I can't say it was jealousy. It was kind of bittersweet because I knew that I wasn't going to marry him, but I still had feelings for him, and I knew I needed to move on. And I knew our relationship was unhealthy. So I still have feelings for him, but it's more like bittersweet because I still have a desire for him to be happy as well as me to be happy.
Okay. And you mentioned, you knew you weren't going to marry Travis. There's conversation on the tape about, marrying other people and whether they will live up to your sexual relationship that you had with Mr. Alexander. Do you remember that discussion being on the tape?
Age and experience. Sooner
So
or
even
later
as late
you
as May
stop
of
What is a tactic for men to avoid crazy? Don't stick your peen in crazy. Yeah, I mean, that's essentially it. You gotta, there is such a thing as, wanting to test drive or kick the tires a little bit. But, you don't do that the first time you go to the showroom, right? You look around, you make some observations, and like you said, Nicholas, age and experience.
Yeah. I mean,
do have a system.
Teens and in the 20s, just Jesus Christ, don't make it be a baby out of it, because then you're stuck with the crazy.
You're stuck with crazy. Yeah.
2008, you knew you weren't going to marry Travis. You had no desire to marry Travis. Is that accurate?
I knew I wasn't going to marry him, and I can't say that I had a desire to marry the Travis that I knew as Travis to be at that point. Yes, that's accurate.
Okay. The fact that, back in 2008, in the spring of 2008, you said Travis never asked you to go to Cancun. Did you have a passport at that time? You
Yes.
could have gone? Okay. Did you have ever, as it got into May and June of 2008, did you ever have any expectations that you would be going on this trip?
No, it was never a discussion.
Because international travel would take some preparation, correct?
Yes.
And
Get
Nick's has
over
been
here.
at the top of mind.
Get over here.
Jealous
Get over here.
in any way that he was taking Miss Hall to Cancun?
I didn't know he was taking Mimi Hall until after June 4th.
Until after June 4th?
Yes.
Did you ever, without telling us his response, did you ever inquire
No.
who are you taking?
I did mention it after I moved back to Wairika, and that's when he mentioned the babysitter.
All females around Jodi were adversaries. They were not friends. She kept them close because you keep your enemies close.
She hadn't put on any female friends.
Nope, they're all men. All of
Yeah.
her friends were men.
Of his friends.
Okay. And he didn't tell you the name of this?
I
babysitter?
prefer the ladies with
No, just that it was a
friends.
trade-off for debt he owed.
Now, you spoke about, in response to one of the questions about having unconditional love for Travis. Do you remember speaking about that?
Yes.
And would it be fair to say you still have that today?
Yes.
Absolutely.
You were asked
You can learn.
a couple of questions about your ability and reasons to stay with Mr. Alexander after a couple of events.
No worries.
friends.
One of those
Just
events was when he had sex with you
Sorry.
while you were asleep. Remember being asked that?
Yes.
Oh my God. There we go. Now I can pause it. Jeez. Ladies with no friends at all. No friends at all.
Yeah.
the best one.
She had no male friends. No, she had no female friends. She was
She had no
barely
female
friends with her siblings and mother.
Yeah, she was really. I mean, she lived with that guy, and then she had a bunch of guy friends, Ryan and what's his name, or just the most recent. But she always had just guy friends.
Yeah, she never stayed in one
They
spot
had
enough.
friends that were girls, but none of them were friends with her, and she wasn't friends with them. It was really weird.
Yeah.
Not weird for Jodi though.
My question to you then is, was it that unconditional love that allowed you to keep being with him even after that point in time?
There may have been an element of that, but it was more because at that time I was in love with him. So, and I was already familiar with him physically, emotionally, his personality, all that. I was familiar with him in a lot of ways. So when that happened, and because I was in love with him, it didn't feel like he had violated me in a big way. Like it was something that just happened, not necessarily intentionally, kind of by accident. Oops, let's move on and not do that again, was kind of how I looked at it.
The question that I guess, if you could describe for us, what do you mean? How, I asked you about unconditional love and you said, it was because you loved him. What's the difference in your mind?
Between unconditional love and being in love?
No, between love or being in love, however you want to phrase it, and this unconditional love that you speak of.
Well, I think there are different kinds of love. I have unconditional love for my family members, friends. I think I mentioned before that I have a certain, like there's an advancement, I guess you could say I have a certain amount of love for everybody. Travis, it was a deeper unconditional love because I had, personally inside, I had a desire to see him be happy. And then being in love is a little more intense. I've never been in love with more than one person at a time, so it's an individual thing or experience for me. And it feels good, that kind of thing.
Okay. You mentioned, you were asked about being able to stay with him after seeing what you saw him do in January 2008. Was that being in love or was that the unconditional love that allowed that to keep going?
I don't know how much I was still in love with him by that time. There was definitely unconditional love and it was strong. I'd say there was still an in-love element there, but it wasn't as strong as it had been 9 months earlier. It sort of began to wane a little bit.
Okay. You were asked about Travis and his sex and its correlation to anger and the de-stressing that was brought up in your answer. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to know a little more clarification when you say, and you made a comment that this was like code in your relationship. De-stress was like a code, right?
Right.
Okay. So maybe you could help us by breaking that code, what de-stressing meant.
De-stressing means to relieve stress in any form through sex.
Okay. Through any form of sex.
Not through any form of stress, through sex, I guess any form. Whatever meant his climax, because that would help him relax.
Okay.
Well, I think that's just a fact of nature. That's a biological thing. Jodi.
You also mentioned that that this.
I mean, I don't know. I just, yeah. Jodi, she's so young, so immature.
System, if you will, this relaxation, also correlated to his anger. Do you recall talking about that yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. So can you explain that to us?
Yes, sometimes we would argue, and if sex followed that immediately after the argument, it signaled the end of the argument. There were times, like when the fight where he wouldn't let me leave, I left finally, and he called me to come back, and I came back, and we had sex, and we were done fighting. So it changed the mood, the atmosphere, the energy, and it put him in a better mood.
Okay.
So he knew how to shut her up.
If you can, I want to.
All the times but one.
Yeah, pretty much. In Nunya Shabusiness, much like Jodi Arias, I would provide for a housewife with a wide berth. She's unpredictable.
I want to see if we can use an example that you've talked about during the course of this trial, and this anger, the end of anger through sex that you talked about. Do you remember telling us about on June 4th how after the CD didn't work, you threw the CD on, or he threw the CD on the ground, and eventually this led to him grabbing you by the arm and bending you over the desk? Do you recall telling us about that incident?
Yes, but to be clear, he checked the CD at the wall, like it was on his desk. He hit the wall, probably was not much farther than this desk, and it rolled backward.
Okay. But you know the incident we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay. You had made a comment to us that you were okay with this activity, the sexual activity, because it was an alternative to him getting more angry or perhaps physical. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that then a illustration of what you're talking about related to sex and anger?
Yes, that's another example.
Okay. And as it relates to June 4th and what happened in the bathroom,
I'm not pulling that up, Russian
sex
bot.
as a way of quelling this anger was never an option to you in the bathroom. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Was sex an option available to you after you dropped the camera on June 4th as a way to de-stress Mr. Alexander?
Definitely not immediately. It certainly wasn't in the heat of that moment.
He's naked in the shower. You're taking pictures of him naked in the shower. How is it not an option, lady?
you were asked about the gun when you learned of the gun. Do you recall being asked that? I think that happened yesterday.
Yes,
And you said that you became aware of that in 2007 when you were working as his housekeeper, correct?
correct.
What was your understanding of how Mr. Alexander had acquired that gun?
My understanding of how he got the gun is that his father used to
Objection, hearsay, all of this,
No, it's her understanding. It's not his statements.
based on hearsay.
approach, please.
Okay. By the way, thank you to Vielhammer Media. This there is a long sidebar with some commentary. Skip to 238. Vielhammer Media has remastered the audio on this, and you guys should all check him out. He's pinned in the description below, so you can subscribe to him if you would, please. He's got a lot of trials that he's remastered. He's also working with us on remastering live trials as they happen.
Yeah, I mean, he's a magician when it comes to sound.
Yeah.
There was a trial I covered backwards.
Oh yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
was a great trial. That was the OnlyFans, right?
Yeah, the OnlyFans stalker trial, when we started with the verdict and went
Please be seated. The
backwards.
record will show the presence of the jury, the
That
defendant, and
was
all
an
counsel.
interesting,
Mr.
but
Nerman,
the
you may
sound was horrible. And now he just
Now you got to watch
magic.
it forward so you can
Yeah.
watch it and hear it all. That was an interesting experiment, though, watching a trial backwards, especially a trial that was that short. You could see the closing arguments and see how they lined up with the testimony, and then see the opening statements and see how it all differed.
Yeah.
It was a good
That was
experiment.
really, yeah.
You guys
I
should
need to
check it
find
out.
a short. Yeah, I need to find a short trial to do that again with, because it was really, really interesting. And if you don't know about the OnlyFans stalker trial, it's a trial where the stalker was the sympathetic one, and he still took a dump in coffee cups and
Well,
took pictures of her neck without her knowing
you,
from within the house.
yeah,
and he was still the sympathetic one.
yeah. And if you have any questions about what is required for living in an attic, like this guy did, just talk to Farrell.
Yep.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Arias,
No, Sal,
The
I
gun
will
you
not
discovered,
do the OJ
Mr.
Simpson
Alexander
trial
Onan.
backwards.
was it your understanding that his ownership of said gun was to be kept secret?
Yes,
Now, continuing on the line of questions, you were asked as it relates to June 4th, there was a question about you deleting photos from the camera. Do you remember hearing that question?
yes,
And we heard early in your testimony in this regard that you were a budding professional photographer, correct?
yes,
And being such, were you familiar with the operation of a digital camera?
yes.
To your knowledge, how and or where are images on a digital camera saved?
On the memory card?
Now, in terms of your understanding prior to June 4th, if an image was deleted off a camera, were you of the belief that it simply went away for good?
No, as a digital photographer, my understanding is that
She would know this technical aspect.
Okay. I was wondering where this question was going to go, because she could answer it in a very bad way, seeming to indicate that she didn't know any better and thought deleting them was hiding her evidence. I do agree with the objection, though, that they haven't established any foundation. Well, no, they have, because she talked about she was into photography and she used a lot of cameras. I think the foundation has been there. This judge should overrule the objection.
Just trying to answer the question.
Overall, to me, answer.
as a digital photographer, my understanding is that the image stays on the card, but it's not something that the average person can recover. Can't get it back unless you have a lot of money to get it back.
Did you ever have experience to try to, well, no, let me rephrase that. Based on the fact that we saw the camera in the washing machine and it had a memory card in it, you didn't take the camera with you, did you?
Objection, meeting.
Overall, to me, answer.
No, I did not take it with me.
Now, it was a question of you regarding Mr. Alexander.
Now when Dave is gone, get
Shaving.
over here and give me all the likes, all the
Remember
super
that?
chat, all
Yes.
the memberships.
I think you asked specifically about Exhibit 503 and the picture you took of him shaving. Remember seeing that picture a couple days ago?
Yes,
You had made the commentary that Mr. Alexander shaved the old-fashioned way. When you made that commentary, were you talking about the old hot towel and razor treatment, or were you talking more about just a razor in general?
You know, I don't know how long they
I guess
deliver.
when I saw the shave cream, it just reminded me of the old fashioned way. I know that sounds silly because shaving cream is always used, but that's what I meant when I said that.
You were also asked about the gun coming into your hands that you grabbed from this closet, correct?
Correct.
And your testimony was that the gun was up in this area somewhere, correct?
In the corner, correct.
Now, you were asked about whether or not it was in a holster or not. Do you recall that for sure?
On the day of,
Asked about the gun, and she indicated it was in a holster.
sustained.
Are you sure that it was in a holster?
On the day of, I don't remember whether it was in the holster or not.
So the unaliving happened in 2008. 2008. And so the iPhone had come out a year prior. So digital cameras were not all brand new, right? The iPhone replaced digital cameras.
Yeah.
So they'd been around for a while. So it's not like this is not the 1990s, 1992, 1998 might be a little bit different, but they've been out for like 15 years.
I mean, the pocket digital cameras with just a little screen and everything, those came out in the late 90s.
Yeah. So, but before that, remember what everyone was trying to do, what the iPhone successfully did really for the first time was replace that digital camera and incorporate it into a phone. So that was they had already been out for a while, and that was their sort of the first nail in their coffin.
When I first discovered it, I don't recall seeing it in a holster, but at one point it was in a holster. Yes.
Now, you were asked about some of the cleanup efforts you made. Did you ever, to your recollection, straighten anything up in the closet?
Not to my recollection.
No, I only use the iPhone as an example that the iPhone killed the digital camera market, and the iPhone came out a year prior to her unaliving Travis. So that's all.
Yeah.
Stay
And I mean,
focused.
the digital camera wasn't out long, because I remember having the old style with a reel.
Well, I mean, I'm
And
sure
then
you remember the brown too.
Yeah.
The
And
little
then
box where
they
you had to
did-
remove the cover and let it sit for 5 minutes and then put it back on.
Yeah.
That's how your high school pictures were taken, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you can still buy digital cameras. Yeah, they're probably still around, but phones killed it for the general public, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he does. Because I have the microphone, Farrell. I have the microphone.
You also mentioned as it relates to this, or you were also asked, I suspect, as it relates to this incident, this question of cocking the firearm, doing anything to it. And you said you didn't recall doing anything of that nature. Do you recall saying that?
Yes, I really don't remember.
But you mentioned, I think your word was that you had some familiarity with guns. Do you recall saying that?
Yes.
Could you explain to us what you meant by that?
Yes, I never had any formal training, but Daryl and I used to go camping at Kirk Creek in Big Sur, California, every summer. And he brought his gun, and as a safety precaution, he showed me where the safety was. I think it's called magazine, where all the bullets are, and how to cock it and that kind of thing. I know there are different kinds of guns, but that's kind of the extent of the familiarity I had. And also the shop owner who sold me my 9mm. Well, I guess we're talking prior to, so that was after. But other than that, I had a general familiarity, but not, I know that each gun type is a little different. So I couldn't tell you too much about it, just more than much beyond point and shoot kind of thing.
You were also asked about where various items went on June 4th. The camera being one of them as it relates to this photograph. Does this photograph display for us where the gun was? Is that area covered in the photograph?
The gun?
Or
No.
excuse me, the camera.
Yes.
Could you point to that where the camera went?
I was right about, the mat used to be right about here, and I dropped it on the mat and kind of bounced by the tub.
Point to his body, Jodi. Point to the body.
This
that you
object
left.
here,
Yes, that one.
is that the mat?
Yes.
Now, for sake of clarification, since we've been talking about mats, was there a separate one for the shower and one for the tub, or is it just one mat?
I don't recall there being a mat for the tub.
What's a CD?
So this mat, were you at one point in time then is kneeling on this mat when you're taking the photographs?
Yes.
It's like a Blu-ray, but without moving pictures.
Ah, okay.
Now, you were asked about the knife. The knife, to your recollection, was the knife ever with you in your car?
Not at any point in time, ever, to my knowledge and recollection.
Did you ever
It
have
was
any
not
knowledge
around
or
the crime
recollection
scene.
of disposing of this knife at any point in time?
If
Not
he
disposing
was
of it, the
actually
only
trying
vague
to
recollection
kill
I
her,
have
why
is-
didn't he go for the gun? He knew where it was.
Well, the thing is her memory lapses.
Hmm.
First of all, she says, I don't remember any of it. It's all a blur. I remember
Yeah.
dropping the camera, him getting mad, and nothing else. And then all of a sudden, well, I remember this and I remember that. And I grabbed the gun first and I did this second.
Yeah.
And then she doesn't remember what she did with the knife, but she didn't take it with her. And she doesn't remember cleaning, but she must have. It's just,
Yeah.
she would have been, like Sal said, I believe the ninjas did it. You know, she would have been better with the original story that
Yeah,
two ninjas.
yeah, she
took
should.
it.
Yeah, she would have been much better off because I don't know. I mean, he did. Travis, we do know that he did sleep around, and she
Yeah,
really
it
didn't
could have
know
pissed
him
off
that
someone
well.
else. Yeah.
Yeah. Or
That's
she
why
should have.
there. That's
she-
why the pictures are there. And you know, oh, that's your pant leg and your foot dragging him. We you know, okay, yeah, the ninjas made me drag him. Or something. I don't know. You know, I'm not suggesting that witnesses should lie. All I'm saying is she had a story that was better than this one.
Oh yeah.
Putting a knife in the dishwasher. And again, I'm not sure if I'm confusing that with another time or if it was that day. It's
Okay. You were asked various questions about June 4th as it related to some other incidents that you'd experienced with Mr. Alexander. Do you remember that?
yes.
Related to other violent incidents?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the things that came up is your response to these questions in whole was that this was different. He kept coming. Do you remember testifying to that?
Yes.
My question to you as it relates in comparison to these other incidents, was the fear that you had on June 4th also different?
Yes, it was different in that it wasn't just fear, it was mortal fear. Like I thought I was going to die.
And if you can you describe for us why you felt like you were going to die?
It goes back to the choking incident and the fact that when he body slammed me and he was standing over me, again, I thought he was trying to get on top of me. And even when we fell, I felt he still was trying to get on top of me by grabbing at me.
Okay. You were also asked about shaking during the course of this trial. Do you recall being asked about that? I think that was this morning. You were asked about that.
Yes.
And you said that you were shaking during your cross-examination. I believe you said the first day, correct?
Yeah, I think I was shaking all the days, but most prominently on the first day
No,
of
you
class.
were snarky and made snarky
Now, when you say
remarks and
shaking-
you smiled. There was no. That was the first day of cross-examination was when she still believed she could outsmart the prosecutor.
Yeah, she did. She did all the way up until about halfway through the cross. And
Yeah.
then her smirk went to just a straight face. And then it went into like panic mode a little bit during the jury questions.
Yeah.
Part of you was shaking.
My whole body trembles. Like, for example, when I wasn't talking, I had my jaw muscles hurt because I had my teeth clenched because my teeth would have been chattering. So I was shaking that much. And sometimes I'll sit on my hands, like they're shaking. And there were a few times when I wanted to reach for the water, but I knew that.
Yeah, he absolutely did. Because the strategy, what people don't know is you hire an attorney, the strategy, the defense is up to the attorney, not the client. The only thing that she really has to say on is settlement, whether or not she's going to accept a plea or is she going to testify. Outside of that, it's up to the attorney.
Yeah, but some clients do bully their attorneys into doing weird stuff. But
we're getting to the angry oaf. I don't know if it's going to be today.
It's not embarrassing. I didn't want the state to know that he was affecting me that way. And so I just waited until I felt like I could reach for the water without it making it obvious.
So you attempted to hide the shaking from everyone in the courtroom?
Yeah, I tense my whole body so that I'm not shaking. I try to have
so
physical
nobody
control.
could see you shake. That's really
this
convenient.
Sensation of tensing your body so you didn't shake. Did you ever do that when Mr. Alexander was being physically violent?
I don't recall attempting to stop it the way I try to now, but I don't know.
Okay. One issue that came up in a few of the questions a little bit yesterday and this morning was the issue of shame. Do you recall discussing that?
Yes.
And I think you were asked something to the effect that, well, if you had killed in self-defense, and maybe this is what you've done wrong, but there were some questions about shame as well in this regard. So I want to make sure we're clear. What are you ashamed of as it relates to June 4th, 2008?
I'm ashamed that I did what I did. I'm ashamed that I'm the person that did that. I was ashamed beyond that. I was ashamed of some of the things that Travis and I did. But more than shame, I was very horrified with myself. And I just never in my life imagined that I would be pushed to that point or capable of being pushed to that point, or that would be something that I would do, because I was a person who loved all life, and this is kind of an extreme opposite. It would appear that way. I didn't feel that way, but it looks that way, and I was very ashamed of it.
She was ashamed of
You were also
unaliving her
asked-
boyfriend.
Well, let me preface this by saying that, you've admitted throughout the course of your testimony, these past few weeks, you've admitted that you lied about being there to Detective Flores, to the world, in essence, to some degree, right?
Yes.
And then when confronted with evidence, you lied about your presence there. You lied to Detective Flores and ultimately on national TV by saying the two intruders came in the home and had caused Mr. Alexander's death. Right? You recall doing that and admitting to lying about that?
Yes.
And you perpetrated that lie, as we've heard throughout this trial, for a long time. Isn't that correct?
Throughout the trial? No, but throughout the case.
Throughout the case.
Yes.
She might be ashamed of being caught.
Given all these
Yeah,
lies,
That's what she did.
you were asked an important question. Why should anyone believe you now? Remember being asked that?
Yes.
That was a good
So,
jury
Jodi?
question.
That is the ultimate question. Why should anybody believe you now?
Like I said before, I lied a lot in the beginning, and each of those lies tied back directly to two things: Travis and protecting his his reputation, and my own partially, and two, related to any involvement in his death. So I understand that there will always be questions, but all I can do at this point is say what happened to the best of my recollection. And if I'm convicted, then that's because of my own bad choices in the beginning.
Irrelevance. And thanks the promise of the jury.
Sustained.
No further questions.
Yes, you may follow up.
Ma'am, one of the things that you told us was that you're going to tell the truth, the whole truth throughout this proceeding. Do you remember that when you took the oath?
Yes, to the best of my recollection.
Am I asking you to the best of your recollection that you took the oath, ma'am?
Objection, argumentative judge.
Sustained.
Ma'am, do you remember standing in front of the clerk to Judge Stevens' left and being sworn in? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And do you remember being asked, will you tell the truth, the whole truth? Do you remember being told that?
Yes,
And you swore that you would, right?
yes,
One of the questions that was brought up during the questioning by the jury and also by your defense attorney involved your allegation involving Mr. Alexander's, or your claim of Mr. Alexander's alleged pedophilia. Do you remember that?
that's correct.
And this is a claim that you have alleged that involved January 21st, 2008, right?
Yes,
And you were asked by one of the jurors, well, ma'am, did you tell anybody else about this alleged claim of pedophilia? And you said, well, yeah. Do you remember saying that you did?
yes,
And do you remember that you kind of at that point hesitated and you turned to the jury and you said, yes, I did tell a psychologist, right?
yes,
And you also indicated that you may have told somebody else, right?
yes.
And with regard to these somebody else's, who are they?
Matt McCartney,
All right. And Matt McCartney is this individual that is your friend, right?
he is a friend of mine, yes.
He's a person who will not betray you, correct?
My confidence, yes.
And he's somebody who, well, in the 48 hours interview, that's how you describe it. Someone who will not betray you, correct?
Right, when I confide in him.
Yes or no?
Yes.
In the 48 hours interview that we saw, isn't it true that you said that he's an individual that will not betray you?
That's correct.
Additionally, didn't it also indicate that he's an ally? You indicated that he was an ally of yours, right?
Yes.
And this individual, Matt McCartney, is somebody who will also lie for you, won't he?
No, he would never do that.
Overruled.
He would never do that.
Are you aware of the statements that he made in January of 2008? I'm sorry, in January of 2013 involving that very fact? Yes or no?
Objection, Your Honor. Still on the scope of the question. Your approach.
So angry. So angry.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump forward here. He came in hot.
Was,
But, sometimes it is best to just kind of let the shenanigans that is Jodi Arias' direct examination just sit.
Yeah.
Instead of coming in so hot, it can seem a little nitpicky and bullying, but I think she's on the ropes and he just wants to get that final little knockout.
Yeah.
He got 1.5 angry.
Maybe see.
Yeah,
well, he's 1.25 now.
Your ally, though, right?
was,
Stay.
Now, you said that you would tell us the whole truth, right? Do you remember that you would say involving this pedophilia thing? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Well, you did tell us that you spoke to, initially you said, well, I did tell a therapist. Do you remember telling us that, right?
say what?
Initially, you testified that you told a therapist, correct?
He was not a therapist.
Yeah. Okay, a psychologist. How about that?
Yes,
Even though this,
Approach.
You may.
Okay. What does the defense?
I don't know.
There must be some opening the door if she actually, because so far, depending on what she says, that psychologist has privilege.
Right.
But if she starts to actually say verbatim what she told, that psychologist might be called as a witness.
Well, remember also there was an objection with regard to asking about the psychologist during the jury questions. So
Yeah.
and I believe, I think it was Nurmi that objected to that.
psychologist, you told us about that earlier.
Yeah, it was Nurmi who objected.
Overruled.
And that you did make this statement to this psychologist. You told us about that earlier, right?
yes.
Well, this is one of the psychologists is Richard Samuels that you told, right?
That was not the psychologist.
Ma'am, I didn't ask you if that was one of the psychologists, did I?
That's how I interpreted it, so I guess
I'm
not.
not asking you to interpret anything. If you don't understand the question, ask me, and we will repeat it for you. The question was, ma'am, do you understand that?
Yes,
With regard to this issue, isn't it true that one of the people that you told about this was Richard Samuels, correct?
Yeah. Do we know if the transcripts for the sidebars are available? I kind of want to listen to them or read them anyways.
Yeah.
I
Well,
imagine it could be a lot of fun stuff that didn't come out. With all the stuff that came out in this trial, there's got to be so much stuff that came out of those sidebars.
And this individual, Richard Samuels, is someone who is assisting in your defense, correct?
yes,
And you also told Alice Laviolette, right?
yes,
And these individuals, Alice Laviolette, for example, she's also going to testify on your behalf, correct?
that's my understanding.
Do you have any reason to believe that she's not going to testify on your behalf?
No,
She's interviewed you, right?
yes,
And you talked to her about this alleged pedophilia,
I have
correct?
to order
That's
them from the
correct.
court.
And you told her what it was that you knew about the pedophilia, right?
I don't remember how in depth we discussed it, but I did tell her some
You
things
did?
about it. Yes,
It's fair to say, for example, the statements that you made to Richard Samuels were made years after this case began to be prosecuted, correct?
We still have so many more days. We have like 30 more days of streaming this. So we have roughly 15 days of trial left in this case. Or at least 10 days. I think some of it's split up. So there's got to be more witnesses, and there's probably redirect as well, or rebuttal case.
Yeah.
Possibly, yes. I don't remember the exact time frame.
Well, it was in 2011 that you talked to him about it, wasn't it?
No, it was 2010 early.
Oh, so you do remember that it was in 2010. So that was years after this case began to be prosecuted, right?
I believe it was, yes.
Well, you just told me 2000.
She opened the door, and so it's allowed to be examined.
Yep.
Hello,
and this is what it wasn't. If we do a comparison with Amber Heard, she wasn't allowed to talk about her medical records because it wasn't physical medical records. It was a therapist.
Yeah.
And a therapist notes, they take down what you tell them. It's not evidence of what actually happened.
So Vielhammer's saying next up are 2 psychologists, and it is fire. So I'm excited.
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
So she's introducing psychologists to the trial, and she's also testified about this. So her mental health, all of this stuff is wide open.
That you talked to him about it, wasn't it?
No, it was 2010 early.
Oh, so you do remember that it was in 2010. So that was years after this case began to be prosecuted, right?
I believe it was, yes.
Well, you just told me 2010. Are you going to go back on that, or are you going to stay with that answer? Which one do you want?
Same. I think I'm trying to remember when I told him, but we began to meet, I think within a year after. I'm not sure.
So you speak to this individual. Isn't it to your benefit to start saying these kinds of things?
I don't think so. I think it's mortifying.
Oh, so you think that it's to your detriment then to come in here to court and talk about Mr. Alexander masturbating to a picture of a young person, a young girl, boy. You think that that's to your detriment?
I don't know if it's my benefit or detriment. I just know it's the truth.
I'm not asking you if it's the truth.
Okay, I think that's a good image to leave this up for today. For those of you who are new to the stream, on Tuesdays, we usually do about an hour, and Saturdays are longer streams. But every Tuesday and Saturday at noon Eastern, 6 p.m. Swedish time, we stream Jodi Arias. And with Travis doing things of self-manipulation to certain picture testimony, we'll be done for today.
Yeah, and a reminder, there is 0 evidence that he ever was doing self thingies to young boys. Because, and here's how we know. He died very suddenly. Really, really sudden. He didn't have time to wipe his phone or computer or anything. There are no traces of CP in his phone or computer. None.
Yep.
So
I mean, there's just no evidence of it outside of Jodi's ridiculous testimony.
Yeah.
But anyways, that is all for today. Nicholas, do you have anything coming up?
Well, tomorrow I will be continuing with the Young Thug Rico trial. And if it isn't a trial day tomorrow, because one of the lawyers are sick, I will be continuing with the cross-examination of YSL Slug and the court filing towards District Attorney Fannie Willis, where it is alleged that she had improper relations with the special prosecutor in the Trump case.
Okay, interesting. I saw that article. That's going to be interesting. I got to read it, but I'll look forward to your stream on it as well.
So that was up this week. Young Thug.
We do take the position that the defendants are innocent. As Jodi sits there right now on the stand in real time, she's innocent. However, we also weigh the evidence, and so
that's what we do.
Testimony.
That is what we do on a daily basis. We weigh evidence. I mean, I do it in negotiation, mitigation, trial preparations, and stuff like that. Dave is a trial lawyer. So this is what we do. We evaluate, and we try to inform you about processes and our thoughts on it.
And taking into consideration that she admitted to unaliving Travis and claimed that it was self-defense, you have to look for facts of self-defense, evidence and testimony that would establish that. And in order for her to be justified in self-defense, she has to believe that she is in fear of great bodily harm and or death, immediate death, right? If she didn't act. Now, when she got onto the stand and they got to the moment of the incident and she said, I dropped the camera, he got angry, and I don't remember anything else, she lost the self-defense argument. Right then and there, she admitted to killing him and failed to provide any sort of self-defense testimony after that point. Everything's hazy and fuzzy.
It's either a blur or she puts it together after the fact. And she uses logic.
Also, she said that she took the gun out and pointed it at him, hoping that it would scare him. Well, if you have time to show somebody a gun to scare them, that's not enough. I mean, that's not enough for self-defense. So there's a lot of things. Her self-defense argument fell apart with her testimony, and that's why I say she's guilty. Thugs of Youngless. I love that they copyright claim their own trial.
I mean, Law and See. I mean, the court played one of Young Thug's songs.
Yeah,
and all of his stuff is on this auto removal, whatever YouTube is using. So the court
copyright claim their own trial.
Yeah.
Have a good day, Dan. And I'm going to send you guys over to Brandy Churchwell. If you guys don't know, she's coming on my Lego stream with Valhalla in a couple of weeks. So go say hi to her. Tell her how excited you are to see her build real Legos and not Mega Blocks. Legal question. If I had a kidney stone and almost put my girlfriend's eye out, am I responsible? I would say talk to your doctor.
Okay. All right. I think I won the likes. I think you won.
You did not.
I refuse to acknowledge anything else.
I have 61. You have 60.
What?
Yeah.
Who removed one? Who removed one?
I
had. I know. No.
All right, I win on that and the memberships. So awesome.
Nobody super chatted me today. Don't
they
you
use
love
it all
me
up
anymore?
On your Young Thug. All right, everyone. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you. Oh, I do have a Zachariah Anderson stream on Thursday, so check that out.
Yep.
And
okay.
We'll see you then. All right. Bye.
See you. Bye.
The State of Arizona versus Jodi Arias verdict, count 1. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn in the above entitled action upon our oaths, do find the defendant as to count 1, first-degree murder.